This episode of Tioga Talks is brought to you by Franklin Air. At Franklin Air, we are proudly serving our community with fast, dependable service you can trust because we're your neighbors, not just your AC company. From quick repairs and routine maintenance to full system installations, Franklin Air has you covered. Stay cool and schedule your service today with Franklin Air. Call Chris Franklin and his team at 479-318-9992 for all your HVAC needs. Franklin Air, the official HVAC company of TSPN. Welcome back to Tioga Talks. In part 2 of this episode, we'll be picking up where we left off with Mr. Arrington. So let's get right back into it right here on Tioga Talks, where every conversation has a story.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go to the junior high for 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Dr. Shamblin hires you.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I got hired right off the bat here in '99, and by Dr. Shamblin, and taught, I think, civics and free enterprise actually in this room.
Wow.
Huh. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
There you go.
Did you want to teach civics? Was that just what was available?
I think that, no, look, you never have a choice when you first start out. Of course, everybody wants to teach the same thing. They want to be Mr. Berryhouse. They want to teach U.S. history.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I wanted to do. But you started out teaching 9th and 10th grade classes. And so I think I did civics and free enterprise or economics were the classes that you taught back then. So that's what I did.
And then assistant baseball coach under Andy Powles.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about Powles?
Well, knows a ton about the game. He had a lot of success at Winfield, at Santa Mont. They won some state championships there. I think he was an assistant, and he had a great deal of knowledge about the game. So I learned a lot from him for sure.
So, obviously, you went to Tioga for 4 years. You went to LC, and then you came straight back to your alma mater. What was some of the difficulties that you felt sitting in those classes only 4 years, and now you're in the front and you're in charge at Tioga High School? What were some of the feelings that
And
you
I'm sure
had
that
there?
you know some of those kids' siblings. You know some of them.
Yeah.
Your brothers here. You know.
Well, I taught my brother.
Yep.
I taught my cousins. I think boy, it's hard to remember 28 years ago.
Yeah.
But I do remember one of the concerns was, yes, I've got all these kids that were friends with my brother, and pretty soon in my career, that's how I started out, and just making sure as a young teacher to have some boundaries and clear lines.
Right.
But it really wasn't problematic. I mean, the kids were great. They were great, and kids know they coaching helped. There was healthy respect there, and it was, the challenge for me was more being coworkers with teachers that taught me,
Mm-hmm.
and I say a challenge. There wasn't a challenge there. I just wanted to make sure to fit in and do a good job, and not let them down.
And I know it's definitely difficult. I mean, you're sitting in front of 20, 25, 16-year-olds as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. I mean, there's not much of a gap there. So, yeah, I do understand that. I mean, even in our first years, we were in the junior high, we were only 10 years older than some of those kids, 8 years
Right.
In some cases. So it's definitely one of those things of getting in front of a class and realizing I don't feel as old as I thought I did.
That's right.
Sitting in front of them.
So you do have some head coaching experience that I think we have to bring up.
Yeah,
Sure.
we got to talk
Okay.
about it a little bit.
2004,
Yeah.
head softball coach.
Yeah.
Right? You made the playoffs.
We did.
I assume that you didn't apply for that job.
I did not.
You didn't go out seeking
I
that
was
job.
You don't seem super
voluntold
excited
for
about
that position. Yeah. My good buddy, Marvin Hall, who is an assistant principal at Pineville High School now, he was athletic director then. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but we needed someone to come in and fill in for softball. And the late great Jay Barber, thank goodness, was my assistant coach. I knew nothing about softball.
He knows a lot. So
He did.
He knew a lot.
He did. And again, kids to the rescue. The girls were game. They were fantastic. They made it easy and fun, and so we had a good year. The kids were great.
We don't have to go into the specific timeline, but you leave Tioga for a little bit.
Yeah.
You cut some grass.
I did.
You go to Paradise for a minute.
I ended up at Paradise. Yeah.
Right. Did you PE teacher? Is that right?
That's right. So there was. Well, I mean, we skipped a step, but I was burnt out, and which, look, you got coaches that have been doing this for 30 years, and so it's. But for whatever reason, yes, I decided to take a little break, a hiatus. I go to another school, and that doesn't work out. And a position came open at Paradise, and again, I've got a lot of sentimental attachment there. My grandmother taught there, my mom, my aunt. And so, I ended up there and did PE, had a phenomenal coworker, shout out to Miss Monica Nelson, and then transitioned into sixth grade for a year, and got very fortunate and lucky that we began a gifted program here, and Miss Bennett asked me to come back, or I may have asked her. I don't remember the details there. Either way, I ended up back, and I'm so thankful I did. Loved my time at Paradise. So.
How did the promotion to assistant principal go about?
Wow. Now that was, that's a story there. So there was a time when I was the only administrator at Tioga High School for about a 2-week window. So, look, it was came back, was in gifted education, and the goal was at some point to move into educational leadership, and really was hoping to be able to work with Miss Bennett, and that looked like that might occur. But then Miss Bennett, of course, got promoted to assistant superintendent. The testing, or one of the assistant principals at that time, accepted a testing coordinator job downtown, so that's the position I applied for. Then Miss Bennett left, and then our assistant principal in charge of discipline was, up in the air, and so there was a window there where it was just me, and in fact we started the school year without the principal being officially hired yet. And so, Mr. Lacombe started there, and we got it up and going all together. But that was a dicey time period there. But man, that first year we learned a lot together for sure.
Mm-hmm. So at what point, as an assistant principal, do you decide I'm ready to do this? I'm ready to be the...
Yeah. Well, you do reach a point as an assistant principal where I don't think you ever say, I'm ready to do it. You say, the thinking, or maybe some people do, but the thinking is you want to lead a school and make your own mark, right? And I was an assistant principal, for a longer period of time probably than I should have been. I think I could have made that transition. I think it was 7 or 8 years I served as an assistant. But I would say probably, year 4, year 5, I was looking for the right opportunity. But for me, that was always the important thing. I always wanted to be at home. But you don't get to force that decision. And so you're just looking for the right place to land. Place has always been really key and important for me.
Right. So that opportunity came in 2020.
Yeah.
At Ash.
Yes.
Is that an opportunity that you sought out, or did they approach you? How did that come about? And in the middle of COVID too.
Well, yeah. So there were some opportunities before that I weighed, and I say opportunities. These were just mentors, people saying, "Hey, what about this position? Considered it might come open, etc." And so the position at Alexander Senior High School came open, and I just knew some incredible people worked there. And so if it couldn't be at home, could it be at a place where I could work with some incredible people? Yeah. And, so I thought long and hard about that. And so that came open, right when COVID started. Mm-hmm. And so worked with some phenomenal people over at Ash, but that was an incredibly tough first year to manage something that we had never managed before.
Yeah. So just kind of thinking through it, I mean, obviously we go back to you standing in Miss Ballio's office.
Yeah.
Kind of leading out the future of what you want to do. You want to be a teacher. You want to move in. You want to be the principal of Tioga High School.
Right.
And you're across the river.
Yeah.
In purple and gold.
Yes.
And I think what stands out there is you did come to the conclusion that even it wasn't Tioga, you still had good people around you.
Yes.
And so how do you feel like your time at Ash really prepared you and maybe humbled you in the position as principal and prepared you to move into your job here, which was kind of the point that you had been always working towards?
Well, look, I mean, the principal job will humble you quickly.
Yeah.
And I remember asking my mentor, over the years, thinking like, well, how do I know I'm ready, and how am I going to know what the right thing to do is? And he told me, now he operates from a high level of confidence, but he said, look, you're going to get your principal job, and in the first 5 minutes, you're going to sit in that chair and you're going to be like, my goodness, it's all up to me. But that's going to provide a lot of clarity as well. And so at Ash, that is how it transpired. You are going to, you're constantly going to be thinking about what is it that's critical and important. What are my values going to be? What are we going to emphasize? And it becomes crystallized for you when you take that position. How Ash prepared me for this position, and how any principal role would. My first suggestion is that a big school like Ash, mm-hmm. That's an incredibly tough first assignment for someone with no experience. Now, again, I was incredibly fortunate that I had really, really good people working with me. But Ash is like managing a small city. Yeah. We got everything going on there except for wrestling. And I think that's the only sport that we didn't have. So I learned to manage a whole lot of things. I also learned that you've got to delegate too, and you got to have incredibly good people there. So, I mean, we could spend a whole other podcast on all the lessons learned at Ash. What it prepared me for in coming back home was that even though I don't think I could say that I lived up to all of the expectations I'd hoped I would at Ash for all sorts of reasons, we were incredibly successful there. But the number one factor there is so I knew that we could replicate whatever success we had there here as well. It all comes down to the people, though, right? Yeah. And so something that I think I understood early at Ash and understood here is the most important thing you're going to do is find the right people. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you can never, ever lose sight of. Is you've got to surround yourself with the right people, because day in, day out, it's going to be those teachers and the kids that drive the work. The assistant principals are going to work incredibly hard. Yeah. And while, now look, I'm not the hero of every story, but I think the nice guy part, I hope is true. But equally true is the people that I work with, especially down in that front office, they have to work incredibly hard. I mean, they have very high expectations. They put in a ton of hours. And so, everyone, all the administrators that I've worked with since I've been here, the ones not here, the ones that are here, I've always felt incredibly blessed. They've been very, very good, hard workers who love Tioga High School. So, yeah, lots of lessons learned at Ash that translated to good practices over here. But the number one thing is it's always about the people.
So you're at Ash, you take a sabbatical, and I assume that you're just at home, and they give you a call the summer of 23, right? How did that materialize that Mr. Lacombe's going to leave and you have an opportunity to come back?
Well, I mean, I think I was probably one of some candidates, but there were a lot of questions, right? Because I took a sabbatical, and so I'm sure there were like, okay, well, Ben's been, he led Ash for 2 years, A school, whatever, had a lot of success, but he took a sabbatical. So, so is he going to be the right guy for this position? So for me, number one, I had to decide, is being a high school principal what I want to do for the rest of my life? And what I figured out on my own during that year was that it really wasn't just, I want to be a high school principal. It really became, I want to be principal at Tioga High School. It's the same thing I said in Miss Ballier's office. And it's because, when I think of Tioga High School, I think of mom and dad, grandparents, I think of brother, sister, cousins. I think of all the friends. I think of the people. And so we started this conversation about baseball and it being a very spiritual connection. Well, there's a deep emotional connection to this place. And, I could beat around. I could say the political answer and be like, I want to be a principal. Mr. Powell, put me where you think I'm best. What I wanted was to be principal at Tioga High School. And, so whether there were questions about what that would look like and how that transition would be, et cetera, all that was fair for people to think about and see how this played out. But so I communicated that, to answer your question. I had to communicate that with people. And they either had to choose that, this is going to be good for Tioga, or we don't know, or let's see. Hopefully, I think everyone would agree that it's been good. We've had.
So I was going to say, I still vividly remember the first time I saw you. We were in the throes of prep week. We were getting ready, and I remember getting an email and a text message from Alan Lacombe, and it was hey, we're going to have a quick meeting in the teacher's lounge. You need to be there. And it was short, it was quick, and me and my wife Kaylee, who also works here, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, okay, we got to go. So we found somebody to come watch the kids. We thought it was going to be that kind of meeting, and sure enough it was. And I just remember him walking out of the hallway from the office, and then you were behind him.
Yeah, I remember this.
And I just remember in my brain, I knew exactly what he was going to say. And of course, he proceeded to tell us that he was not going to be coming back. He was going to be.
That's how y'all found out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We kind of had heard that he was possibly because the previous the previous year, Mr. Lacombe had mentioned some things about wanting to spend some more time with his family, and in the position it's difficult. But whenever he had found the position availability of financial director, downtown, we kind of had an idea. We just didn't know if it was going to happen the following year, but we were less than a week away from starting the school year in 23. And I just remember in my brain thinking, I just got used to this guy. I've been here for 2 years.
Right.
And then especially I remember Kaylee being very emotional and a little overwhelmed with it because, you know, whenever she first came, it was the idea of like, Kaylee's kind of like petite. She's a little bit smaller, but I mean, you know more than anybody. She's feisty. She's going to get stuff done. And Mr. Lacombe, I remember sitting in there whenever he hired her. He said, "I don't know if you can handle high school at all," and she said, "Yes, I can." Kind of like I got to prove myself, and she had over the last 3 years. And I just remember her thinking through it and being like, I just feel like I just got to this point. And I also was like, I feel like I finally have my footing here. And I do remember that a little bit of hesitancy and just there's a lot of unsure feelings and emotions of we've got a new person coming in. But as we started to transition in that year, and we got to sit down with you and really get to know you, it really was it was a great fit, and it still has been. And I really do like the administrators that you've had alongside you, the administrators that are currently in the office right now. Like you said, I mean, it's not a one-man show, and it never can be. And I think that that's important to say because it really was a lot of uncertainty when you walked in. Yeah. But as we obviously did our research and we figured out who you were and just, you know, intimately and personally got to know who you were as a person, it was easier to work for you because we understood the heart behind the matter and we knew that this place was yours before we ever showed up. And so we knew you'd already walked the halls. Yeah. We knew that you'd been a good student. You were involved, that you loved the place. You had worked your way from Paradise to the junior high to the high school, stayed local, worked at the biggest local school, and then eventually, I mean, let's be honest, you did it. Like you're sitting in the seat that you said that you wanted to be in, and I think what you're doing and nurturing with the school at this point is great. So I mean, kudos to you.
Thanks, buddy.
You've done a fantastic job, and I'm excited about what's to come.
So now you're principal,
yeah.
Right? Some big picture things here. How do you measure success as a principal?
I won't be able to recall it exactly, but there was a quote that made an impression on me when I was at Ash. Like you, Mr. Berthelot, I like going through the yearbooks,
right,
and finding some nuggets. I'm not as good at it as you are, but one of the principals there, their first principal, I'm drawing a blank on his name, unfortunately. But their first principal said that the success of Alexandria Senior High School is measured by the success of our graduates. And ultimately, that is how we measure success at Tioga High School. And that's why, you know, as we were creating our, our vision and values, that key phrase that the kids were so tied to about, you know, lighting the way for the enduring strength of Tioga Nation, how our people leave and what they go accomplish beyond that is the true and ultimate measure of success. And so are they prepared to lead just good and decent lives? Can they go do amazing things, which our kids go do? But, you know, also, and just a more, an answer that probably gauges things on a more day-to-day basis. I want our people to feel good about showing up here and the work that we do. And I think while how we feel shouldn't always be the way we measure our success necessarily, you know, do we feel like we're showing up at a place where we can actually become our best? And are we treating one another in ways that we want to be treated? And if I had to give my most honest answer, that's probably how I measure success. What's the temperature of our students and of our faculty? And are we working hard? And do we feel like we're treating each other well?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So you always tell the faculty that whenever you sit down to hire somebody, you ask yourself first, okay, is this a good person? I want to hire a good person. before anything else. Where did that start? Why does that mean so much to you? Because I think that every principal would say that that means something to them, but nobody, dies on that hill like you do. They have to be a good person.
Yeah. I think that if there's a magic bullet that kind of fixes everything, from an operational standpoint, I mean, let's just talk about that for a moment. What makes my job easier? Your kids, both of y'all, they love you, right? And you're incredibly good people. And so if you start thinking about the good people on this staff, they almost never have issues in the classroom. Okay. Now, some of that comes with experience of knowing how to handle that. But again, it just gets down to how do we treat other people? And so when I say, the first question is this person I'm hiring, are they a good person? Are they good-natured at heart? Because that just fixes so many things in so many different fields, whether you're, working in education or whether you're in the service industry, except whatever it might be, it kind of is just a fix all. And I think, frankly, because of the people that I've looked up to growing up, hopefully that's the case for all of us, but what I admire most about them is how they treat other people. And so I think that is, I think people who are good at their job know, first of all, they have to have an understanding of what they're good at. And I don't have a lot of complex skills. I hope that I can recognize a good person. Yeah. And so that's something that's easy for me, I think. And so that's my starting point. And we've been very fortunate. We have a lot of good people on this staff. Mm-hmm. And look, the nature of this business is that good people are also going to leave. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you got to replace them with good people as well. Yeah. And you can't miss on those opportunities.
So we live in a parish where our employer has a slogan, "Better Together." But we also have open enrollment. How do you balance, okay, we all need to collaborate and work together and for the good of the parish, but also, man, we don't want our kids to go to Pineville. We can't let them go, we don't want our kids to go to Ash. How do you kind of balance between, all right, we're going to work together, we're going to be better together, but also we're going to have to out-recruit you to some extent. How do you kind of balance that?
Look, probably will get tired of hearing me say this. The way that people decide, we're fortunate in that we get to build some really great facilities here. Yeah. Right. Okay. And so we've got this big, gorgeous field house that's going up. We've got great facilities here. That is part of a person's decision. But ultimately, who's running your programs? Who's the person? Do they love Coach Chrisman, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Do they love Coach Jackson, right? Do they love the teachers? What are the students saying about their experiences every day about this teacher and that teacher? The number one thing that attracts people to whatever it might be, a school, a business, a restaurant, is the experience good? Am I engaging with people who are friendly, who are nice, who care about me, who want what's best for me? And so you got to have that first. That's got to be the first thing that you have. And so that gets back to, am I hiring really good people?
Yeah, and I think, like we said, it's open enrollment. Not everybody is coming from Tioga Junior High. We're getting a lot of kids from other parts of the parish as well. So you got a family coming to open house, or they're just coming to see the school. They ask you the question, why should I send my kid here? Why Tioga over all these schools? Because when you think about it, we've got, just in the general vicinity of our area, we've got 5, maybe 6 high schools. They've got options. So when somebody's shopping around, which they can,
Right.
if you're pitching to them 1, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, one quick conversation with a parent before you move to the next, the question is, why Tioga? Why send my kid here? And I think you've kind of tapped into that answer already, but just putting yourself in that situation, which I know you've had to several times. What's your response to that?
You put the people that they're going to be engaged with out in front. Hey, do you follow our Instagram and see what our student leadership kids are doing? That's the Richardsons, the Berthlots, the Williams that are in charge of that. Ever seen our choir sing with Miss Nogich? You know, you have to continuously put out. And so one of the things, I don't want to get ahead of the message that I'm going to give on Tuesday, but we've got 3 priorities that I want us to focus on this year. And I think it's probably relevant or pertinent that I talk about this one here. But one of them is that I want us to tell our story.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And we've toyed with the words, tell a great story, tell a good story. I think it's just tell our story because it is a great and a good story. And so we've got all these, and look, this has always been part of what we've been trying to work on the last few years, but we've got all these amazing things that go on our campus. And so the better job we do at telling that story, the more people are going to be attracted to our campus and our school. And we are already having a ton of success there anyway, but we want to continue to build on that.
Yeah, so we're trying to, like you mentioned, what we're doing right now for the first time in this room, we are trying to create a bigger overarching Tioga media and put collaboration. You know, we're bringing the newspaper back. We're adding a podcast, kind of old school and new school at the same time, right? The tagline of Tioga Media is telling the story of Tioga. And the tagline of this podcast is every conversation has a story. And it seems like we're making a more, conscious push for that. Why do you think that this new, how we're re-envisioning Tioga Media is important?
Well, because I think streamlining that process of, like y'all said earlier, y'all are history teachers, right?
Yeah.
And so we're all trying to figure out this together about how we can collectively brag on all the great people that make Tioga High School such a great place to be. Mm-hmm. And that goes from, the kid who's making it great on our campus right now that nobody really knows their story to any number of people that have contributed to our legacy over the last 111 years. Yeah. And so I think it's no accident that all 3 of us who are so passionate about this new media are also 3 history guys. Yeah. Because history matters and history is important. And we want to tell that story. Now, of course, we want to tell the good parts, but we want to tell the story. There are so many good stories that have yet to be told. And I think it's one of the things that I am really, really excited and passionate about is I want to see where this can take us because when you have so many good people collected in one place and in one community, you want to brag on them. Mm-hmm. And you want to do it while they're here to experience that for themselves as well.
Education has changed a lot over the last 40 years, 50 years, whatever time period you want to make, it's changed a lot. 10 years, it's changed a lot, right? Whenever you think about the principals before you, specifically go all the way back to Earl Akins and Philip White, they're here for 45 years combined. And then Richard Bardwell and Chamblin, and we could go through all of them. How has your job changed compared to what Philip White dealt with and what Earl Akin dealt with? I mean, besides the technology aspect, it's huge. Have we gone too far in what we're doing now in the school compared to what they dealt with?
Well, you can see a trend coming back, and it's something that I actually am at least going to mention to our own people. But you can see a trend coming back where you've got some districts that are making a hard push to go back to pencil and paper. Now, look, I don't want to be one of those old fogies. I'm not saying abandon all the technology. It's such a powerful tool. It would be foolish to abandon that, and it's going to continue to keep us on the cutting edge. But there's got to be room for time without technology, and it's just you and your brain and really, really engaging in some critical thinking. Technology has had such a huge impact. The way schools are evaluated has had a huge impact, and both positive and negative. I don't know what those experiences were like for a lot of the principals that went before me, particularly those in the 20th century. But I would imagine that the focus, for the most part, was on how the school was run, managed. And I know what was important to Mr. Aiken was, are you getting a phenomenal education? Well, that's never changed. That's what we still want our focus to be. The way it occurs, though, is dramatically different than it used to be. Right. And it's a challenge. I mean, you just think about your own challenges that you have as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And there are so many things that you have to balance, so many programs you have to learn.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been sitting here talking about the history of Tioga, and you've mentioned it, and we already know it, but I mean, we're all are or have been history teachers. So it's something that we're very passionate about. I know that you and Dallin both are huge podcast listeners.
Yes.
You like to listen to the histories. We're all pretty avid readers as well, but there's one figure in history that you tend to lean towards, and he's not even American.
He's not.
But Winston Churchill is kind of your guy. What is it about Churchill that really has drawn you in? And are there any things that philosophically that you would apply to your leadership style, or just think about him as interesting?
Well, I think I'm drawn to people who use humor.
Oh, yes.
And he did that. And of course he was leading during arguably the heaviest times we've ever had. Mm-hmm. What stands out to me and look, reading about Winston Churchill, I'm nothing like Winston Churchill. Okay, I mean, I have almost nothing in common with him. Yeah. But there are things that that I admire about him. There are like any major historical figure, he has his flaws as well, and we can't overlook those. But he just operated with tremendous courage, and he had an ability to inspire others to do great things. Yeah. So while I can't say that I carry on that same inspiration, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I hope is that I create a system in which our people feel like they are comfortable enough and can put their best foot forward, and they can excel at what they do. But the things that I admired the most about Churchill were just the fact that he had an undaunted courage, and he had supreme confidence that he was on the right side of things in that struggle. And so just from a historical perspective, he's a fascinating figure. Yeah. Thank goodness he was the leader when he was. And the humor, though, was top notch.
He really, when Chamberlain stepped out and he stepped in, nobody was necessarily super impressed with him, especially when you looked at his tenure at Tripoli or any of those battles. He wasn't very impressive when it came to the Great War, but he also wasn't very well known for his oration until he was the prime minister. He honestly, I mean, reading into it, he was terrified of it. And so, I mean, we hear his voice and we have those recordings. You can't tell. You have to know that detail.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not to compare you, but he also had a pretty good team around him.
He
I
did.
mean, you think about the Grand Alliance.
Yes, he did.
There was, there was Stalin. He was kind of doing his own thing, but he was there. He sure was holding up the eastern side. But I mean, he adored Franklin Roosevelt, and he just, I mean, admired him. They were best friends. One of the best books that I've read about it was John Meacham. It's Winston and Franklin, and it just talks about their relationship. And I think one thing that I really admire about Winston Churchill is that he knew he was in a tight spot, and he was not afraid to ask for help.
Right.
But at the same time, he was resilient enough to not just give up in the midst of the Luftwaffe. And I mean, we can get into the history. We could sit here and talk about that. But I think that it is good to be able to see those types of things when you know, this is not my expertise. This needs to be delegated to somebody that can do this better. And I think that just speaks to your leadership of, I'm not the right person. Even if I am the principal, that doesn't mean that I'm going to do it all right. And that's something that obviously we've noticed. But
So I think that's that was part of the learning curve.
Yeah.
Number one, I think for me to be an effective leader, I have to know my limitations, of which there are many, and then I have to be able to find the right people to take that over. And I do think that look, going back to that transition between Mr. Lacombe and myself, we have different leadership styles, and but any leader worth their salt, they have to lean into what they're good at.
Right.
And so that's what I try to do. And, the other thing about Churchill that I admire and like, words were very important to him, and words are important to me too. And trying to be as effective as you can when you communicate, I think is something that I aspire to. I don't know that I'm always successful, but trying to say things in the right way has always been important to me as well.
yeah, absolutely.
So one more question about kind of Tioga overall, and then we'll move to a conclusion.
Okay.
What do you feel like as a school going into a new year we need to improve on? And I don't just mean like teachers putting in attendance, obviously.
Yeah.
We need to get better at that.
But we do.
We do
But
need to
like,
work on that.
Big
Yeah.
picture, you think of goals for our school. What's something that we need to get better at?
So I hate to give an answer that's going to feel like, well, you could say this in a year, but one of the other priorities that we've identified and to the phrase I'm going to use is learning at high levels. And so that's an all-encompassing way of saying we need to be able to walk into any classroom, and the experience, the academic experience that student and that teacher are engaging in needs to be at high levels. Yeah. That's a very lofty thing, but it's also our job. And so as an administrative team, we've got to be able to step up our game and give all the support we can where it's needed. Yeah. Also, and to get out of the way when it's also needed, right? And as teachers, we need to be able to, as consistently as possible, develop and deliver an engaging lesson. So essentially, we need high levels of learning happening in the classroom on a consistent daily basis. And to show up and do that is where we have to get better.
Yeah. All right. So just to kind of conclude a little bit we're going to do a little bit of rapid fire with you. Okay. So let's kind of finish up here and be able to, think through a few things, but some of them are fun, some of them are a little bit serious, but we just kind of want your honest first thing that comes straight to the dome. We want to know what it is. So first question here is, we've already kind of touched on it real quick, but favorite teacher growing up. If you had to pick one, who is it?
Mr. Barrhouse.
Mr. Barrhouse. Okay. Favorite baseball memory.
My own.
Your own?
Oh, sure. Why not? Just any
yours.
baseball memory.
Yeah, any baseball memory.
Any baseball memory is Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter.
That's impressive. I do appreciate that memory. What about most embarrassing moment as a student?
Oh man, I think that we just opened the door for it.
There are too many.
You're talking to a guy that peaked in junior high.
There's too many. As a student or as a teacher?
As a student, yeah.
As a student, I was in junior high giving a presentation that we had to give in French class in the 8th grade. And my, junior high, you're going through all the changes. And my voice cracked, and it reached a very high octave. And I couldn't bring it back down.
Yep.
And so there was about a 4 or 5 second, which seemed like a 20-second period where I was speaking and delivering to a class full of peers, and it sounded like I was singing really bad opera. And that certainly is one of many moments that I could
And you know what's
talk
redemptive
about
that is that they still voted you class president.
They sure
still
did.
They still
All
did.
right.
Yeah.
So at the high school, okay, and the good old fashioned with the stage, with the carpet and everything, what was your favorite lunch in the cafeteria?
Isn't everybody's favorite cafeteria pizza and corn?
Good
Not
old,
the ketchup though, huh?
No ketchup.
a little ranch on the side. Did y'all do that?
No ranch.
No ranch.
We may have had it, but I was not a ranch guy.
That's right.
Square
Yeah.
pizza and the corn.
Well, but all the sauces were in those tubs.
They were in the
Just-
tubs, which I avoided.
I just feel like maybe you like mustard.
I am a mustard guy. I am a mustard
Okay.
guy.
That's where we differ. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to come back to that at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
All right. If you had to use one word to describe Tioga, what would it be? Just one.
Home.
Home. Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Early bird or night owl?
It's changed, but
Okay.
it's early bird now.
Early bird. Okay.
Yes.
About what time are we waking up? What time is the alarm going off in the morning?
Are we on school schedule?
School schedule. Yeah.
It's going off at 5:15.
5:15. All right. Good deal. Coffee order.
On a podcast that's going out everywhere, just black, no sugar, no
absolutely.
cream. Yeah.
little hair on your chest.
Not a caramel macchiato, I can tell you that.
No, we're not stopping at Starbucks at all. There's no possible way. All right. Favorite history topic?
World War II, that may be too broad, but
Yeah.
it's World War II, although I kind of dig colonial America too. I'm
Yeah.
learning a little bit more
Yeah,
about that. Tastes change, but if you only had to box me into one, I actually don't even want the war. I want the lead up to the war. I want the
Ooh, okay.
1930s. That's what I want.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Hillsdale College has some great videos on colonial
Who's
stuff.
that?
Hillsdale College.
Yeah.
They have all
Okay.
of their good little courses. That's good. All right. If you could teach one class again tomorrow, what would it be?
Actually, you have to teach one class tomorrow.
Yeah,
What
you
are
don't-
you going to teach?
Yeah, you got to go back in.
I'm going to teach psychology.
All right. I wasn't expecting that curveball. I'll be honest with you. Okay. All right. Why?
So I taught psychology for 2 years here, AP psychology, and it's probably because I began to learn new things that were just incredibly interesting, and the behavioral part of it is all. Look, when you're a principal, when you're in a position of leadership, how we interact with one another is always going to be a fascinating thing, and getting better at it is also going to be something that's interesting. Psychology has just always been an interesting thing to me, and that's what I'd teach if you told me I had to go back in the classroom tomorrow.
All right. And then last, little quick fire is, what is the best advice you have ever been given, whether it be in school or just in life? What has been the best?
I won't say it as eloquently as he did, but my paternal grandfather Mr. John Arrington, who was an educator himself. I remember sitting on my brick patio one summer. It's an education coaching, and talking about all the things I was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Ben, you need to stop worrying so much because most of the things that you worry about are not going to come true. Now, that's a very basic and simple thing, but I do think as human beings have a natural tendency to just have anxiety about things that just never occur.
Yeah.
Now, I say that piece of advice because here I am as a 30-year-old worried about all the things, all my many problems and concerns and worries. And it took someone who helped to liberate a concentration camp, who didn't know whether or not he was going to survive World War II, who grew up in the Great Depression, who had real problems, say, hey, buddy, quit worrying so much. That's probably a pretty good piece of advice. Don't spend so much time in your life worrying about what ifs and what might happen.
So, 2 questions to close. What do you think is the biggest misconception that students have about what a principal does every day? Because they're never going to see all the work that you're doing, right? But you're not just sitting in there.
Right. I think what has surprised me about students is when they come in and they're terrified of me, because I think a misconception is principal equals scary person, even though in my mind I give off zero scary vibes. I hope it's not a misconception, but I hope the conception is or will be or shifts to administrators, principals. We don't wake up to develop a whole bunch of rules that you got to follow to make life miserable. We want what's absolutely best for you. We are your biggest fans. We are in this business, students, because of you. And you may be listening to this and thinking, yeah, but he's not talking about me. No, we're talking about you. Yeah. We want every single student, person in this building to truly become their best. And that's why we wake up and do this every day. Same is true for your teachers.
So last one. You have now been a student, a teacher, an athlete, assistant principal, and a principal. You can go in the auditorium lobby right now and see memorabilia from the last 75 years. In 20, 30, 50 years, what do you hope that people remember about your time at Tioga High School?
Yeah, the legacy question. Man, it is something you think about the longer that you're in this business and as principal. And I probably should have better words for this, but I just hope that kindness word comes up and that we are known during this time as a place where I'll go back to the word you asked me what I thought about when I think of Tioga home. People felt at home here.
Right. So let me say this before Kate closes us out. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, this was so much fun.
We will work here as long as you want us to work here.
Absolutely.
This podcast specifically, this episode is probably going to be a lot longer than what we normally do.
Yeah,
but
we might
you're a busy
make it.
man.
It might be a two-parter.
Might be a two-parter.
Oh, y'all can cut. Y'all can do a lot of cutting here, my friends.
You are a busy man, and so if you had the opportunity to sit in here, we were going to get everything out, so we didn't have to take you away.
Yeah.
I love this. I wish I will walk away thinking, I wish I would have given a few better
Yeah.
answers here, but this is phenomenal
Yeah.
stuff, guys. This is so much fun.
Thank you, man.
This is going to be great. Y'all are going to have a lot of fun doing this too.
I think so.
This is
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, folks, we really do appreciate you tuning in. Remember, we are your hosts, Cade and Dallin. This has been Tioga Talks, where every conversation has a story, and we will talk to you next episode.